There are times when a piece of media comes along that seems to become something bigger than just another show. It breaks the confines of television and impacts you in a way nothing else can. It becomes a part of you. When you look back, you not only remember what that show did, but also the era of your life that show encapsulated. For many of us, My Hero Academia was that show that was there through the highs and lows of our lives. And now, 10 years later, it has finally come to an end. And final arcs are always the toughest to write. So many characters, plot lines, and dramas should be concluded in a way that satisfies your readers and not leave them yearning for more. That is why even the most iconic series are torn apart by fans as they leave. But after experiencing MHA's final moments, I can confidently say this final season delivered a spectacle worthy of the legacy the show will leave. And in this video, let's talk all about it.
Because I am here!
Now, All Might's character arc post-retirement has been about accepting the fact that he's out for good. He cannot save any more people and be the hero he once was. So him coming back in action might seem contradictory to his growth post-retirement. But that's the point. Him not being able to sit back and accept the reality is his character flaw. So here he is, weak, old and quirkless, yet with a big smile on his face, going up against his arch nemesis one final time. While this fight isn't the most grand or strong display of All Might, it definitely was the most real display of him. Since his very first fight against the Nomu, it was established that he's always under tremendous pressure to be something that he isn't. The symbol that he wanted to be is just a husk, a mask that is hiding a weak man, way past his prime, trying to live up to his own extravagant ambition. That's exactly what this fight is. He's in a metal armor that crumbles in one blow. He is clearly not even close to the sheer force that is All for One. And on top of that, he failed to save his biggest admirer. Even now, he's actively failing in his goal. Yet he smiles and laughs like a maniac, like a lunatic, keeping All for One engaged with him, waiting for his regeneration to turn him into a baby. Once again, the smile was a mask he wore to pretend everything was alright. But by the time the fight reached its climax, this mask was completely shattered. No quirk, no support gear, not even the smile. That All Might persona is completely gone. What is left is just Toshinori Yagi, fueled by his passion to save people. While he acknowledges his promise to the next generation to stay alive and continue to inspire them, his dream of becoming the symbol of peace is still bigger. Just like Deku, he can't simply abandon his dream. So in a desperate final act, he decides to sacrifice himself and take All for One with him, going out with a heroic death, only to be hit with the reality that the story is being written by Horikoshi. Right now, it was so easy to give All Might that classic superhero death, ending his story in the grandest way possible. But what we got instead is a complete disrespect for the persona All Might spent his entire life building. His death is being made a live show orchestrated by All for One in front of his disciple, his co-workers and the entire nation, watching their symbol killed right in front of their eyes. But after everything he has selflessly done for the world, destiny had to pay him back. Everyone All Might has ever inspired, all the young heroes' journeys he has ignited across the globe, regardless of their gender, nationality or race, clenched their fist and hoped for him to live. All their prayers and beliefs unite in the form of energy that is flowing through Bakugo as he ends up saving All Might. But more importantly, after this fight, All Might understands his worth as a human. As I said earlier, post-retirement All Might struggles with finding his place in the world. But why is that the case? Why can't he just enjoy his time off? It's because to him his entire worth is being a hero and carrying the duties that come with it.
I thought masters were supposed to die when they passed the baton to their students.
This is life, not a comic book, Toshinori Yagi. You're a hero, All Might, but a human too. You don't get to die so easily.
This small conversation beautifully bookends All Might's character. The very reason he couldn't live with himself without helping in some way is because he only valued himself as a hero. But after this fight, he realizes his worth as a human, in turn being able to accept his retirement, bidding farewell to All Might and continuing to live as Toshinori Yagi. So while this fight can seem like a contradiction to the arc that started post-retirement, at the end it was only adding to it. Apart from the insane animation quality this fight packs, there's actually very little to talk about here. Bakugo's character development has been the most gradual in the series, often coming from small behavioral changes rather than big defining moments, making it easy to overlook his growth. Also, his journey in many ways was tied to his rivalry with Deku, so in season 6 when he apologized for the way he treated Deku, a huge part of his character came to an end. The only thing left to be concluded was his self-inflicted guilt of being the cause of All Might's retirement, and now after saving his life, even that was done. So what we got in this fight is Bakugo living himself to the fullest, liberated from everything holding him back, and just genuinely enjoying beating this demon's ass. But what I said earlier about his and Deku's dynamic ending in season 6 was only half true. You see, when he learns that Deku is quirkless again, he breaks down crying. Cause the truth is, Bakugo did hurt Deku's time as a hero by constantly being an obstacle in his way, and when he finally realized his mistake, all he wanted was to at least make the rest of his hero career fun by being a healthy rival, pushing each other to greater strengths. And now that is simply not gonna happen, so that sense of guilt is back. Bakugo has to live with the fact that during Deku's brief chance to live out his lifelong dream, he himself only added pain where there should have been joy. That is precisely why in the end he funded Deku's new armor with Class A, allowing him to continue to live his dream. Just look at how far this dude has come. I think Bakugo might be the character who changed and grew the most out of any. I mean, before throwing the final blow against All For One, he remembered and embraced all the help he got from his parents, teachers, and of course his classmates, showing how far he has come from the self-centered, arrogant boy he was in season 1, truly making him one of the best written characters in the show. He is simply the GOAT. And now we get into Deku vs Shigaraki, the final battle of the entire series. On paper, this fight can easily be chalked down to another cliche attempt at the save your villain trope that many of MHA's predecessors are infamous for using. But what makes MHA's take different is that Shigaraki is fully aware of what Deku is trying to accomplish. He knows Deku sees the crying boy inside him and only wants to help, yet he rejects that offer.
You're desperate to believe that the narrative you've created for me is the truth. But you're wrong. I buried that whining boy a long time ago. He learned everything he could about this cruel world and evolved into me.
Shigaraki is not a sad, sympathy-seeking villain trying to justify his crimes with his unfair past. He has long put a lid on that crying boy. Now he's the result of everything that boy experienced. He hates what society did to him, and now the only thing liberating him is destroying the society that fucked him in the first place. He's not even asking for Deku's help. But Deku won't ignore the crying boy he saw inside him. He even decides to transfer One For All to break the lid Shigaraki has formed. And a very cool aspect about this process that I don't see many people talk about is how Deku uses his predecessor's quirks. Because obviously he's a tactical genius, but what makes him so well versed with these powers is his admiration for quirks in general, not just One For All. Unlike the rest of the world, quirks were not a natural part of his life. He struggled his entire life to finally get one. That makes him admire and respect each and every quirk, no matter how strong they are in practical use. And cried watching how well Deku used his weaker smokescreen. And as he transfers One for All to Shigaraki, their memories start to blend, creating the perfect setup for Deku to finally reach out to Tenko.
This is where we're going to finish things!
Obviously, everything that happened in the memories was all metaphorical. They weren't literally changing the past. Deku was just showing Shigaraki how it would have been if someone had lent their hand when he needed it the most. Tenko and Deku's childhoods were pretty much the same. Both shared the desire to become great heroes, but were put in circumstances that didn't allow them to achieve that. But where Deku got positive guidance and help, all Tenko got was harsh manipulation, resulting in one pursuing his dream and the other becoming a vessel for a demon's selfish needs. But now Deku is finally holding his hand, promising him it can still be okay, cause he is here. No one thought this was how we get Deku's I am here moment. You'd expect it would be against a big villain in a hype last moment entry saving one of his friends. But no, it was in curing a villain's heart. Deku's feelings flowed in Shigaraki's heart, and that was enough to break his hatred, which makes this whole tragedy even more sad, knowing such a simple and small act could save a kid's life.
No. I'm a villain.
This right here is what makes MHA's take on this trope so mature and nuanced. Even after Deku removed Shigaraki's hatred, he still holds on to being a villain. Cause his unfair past sprouted hatred in him, but it's his growth as a person that made him the villain he is today. Spinner, Twice, Toga, Dabi, Stain, they still happen to him. And that won't go away even if you filter out his hatred. It's not just his hatred that brought him so far, it's his conviction to stand up and be the symbol for everyone who's not satisfied with the current hero society. He is their hero. He sees it as his duty to fight for them. So technically, Deku did disintegrate his hatred, setting him free from it, but Shigaraki's own resolve stopped it from happening completely. But you know what's the only emotion more dangerous than hate? Greed. Welcome to the beginning of the Age of Quirks. The world has never been more chaotic. There's no law, no order, just complete havoc and turmoil. Amongst all this noise, a sex worker silently gives birth to twins on a riverbank before dying on the spot. And the older baby is a bit weird, to say the least. He not only steals his mother's quirk right as he comes out of the womb, but selfishly drinks all her breast milk, not letting his brother get any of it. He was born evil. He came out of the womb with an immense sense of greed. He saw everything and anything as his own. It all belonged to him. He manipulated and corrupted everything to somehow take advantage of them. He wanted to create a world where everyone only existed for him, giving him the name All for One. As Shigaraki's hatred vanishes, so does the lid he managed to keep on Tenko for so long, allowing All for One's consciousness to once again take over his body. All the tragedies, all the tests were all part of a plan. Shigaraki was just a puppet in All for One's big show, and we have finally reached the climax of his show. The most important theme of the climax is Deku's heroism. Till now, we have only really experienced what All Might's heroism was, to become a symbol that everyone could blindly rely on so they can live their lives while he alone maintains peace. This system does not work. Relying on just one person will not only never break the cycle of heroes versus villains, but it also makes every weak or normal person feel like they can't contribute in any way. Cause All Might's entire persona only works if he seems like this over-the-top god-like creature, which sure makes you trust him with your life, but doesn't motivate you to take action yourself, cause you simply can't be All Might. And that's where Deku's heroism comes in. This final fight was basically All for One versus Deku and the entire sidecast, on their last leg, barely alive, let alone putting up a fight. And yet not a single hero steps back. They all charge in, doing whatever they can possibly do at that moment. That's where All for One really realizes the strength in being weak. If Deku too were a perfect, undefeatable force like All Might, nobody would have felt needed, nobody would have moved. But it's them knowing Deku is not All Might that pushed them to step in. They had to help Deku, they had to try keeping up with him. His weakness is what motivated people forward. Every half-baked work, every weak punch, every soft push, they all eventually stacked. All for One wasn't just fighting Deku anymore, he was fighting every single soul who Deku inspired, helped, or simply stood next to. From his classmates to even the civilians, everyone felt the need to contribute. It's just like that day against the sludge villain. Every hero was out of commission, but Deku ran in to help, reigniting All Might's heroism. I mean, look at him, weak, timid, quirkless, and not even in a hero suit, but an All Might merch like every starry-eyed kid in this world. He's just a regular boy representing every hero's dream. Him not being an extravagant personality is what makes people believe they too can be like him. They too can try, they too can become heroes. And it's all their screams that push Deku to go beyond Plus Ultra and smash through All for One. This entire sequence felt so rewarding that I can't put my finger on the one thing that makes it work so well, cause it's everything. From the emotional dialogues that kick the scene off, the fast-moving animation, the satisfying sound design giving weight to every move, the beautiful parallels and callbacks reminding you of just how far the story has come, and of course Yukihashi's classic blasting in the background fueling hype in every frame. I have never felt this way watching any piece of media ever, not even MHA itself. You're just so overwhelmed with so many different emotions that you can't help but cry. Your heart probably started racing, tears flowed down your face, goosebumps all over your body, and all that was encapsulated with a tinge of sadness, knowing this is the last hurrah before the show concludes. The writing, the animation, the music, the voice acting, it all formed such perfect elements that when put together, created a moment so beautifully crafted that it broke the barrier of fiction and pierced through my heart to stay with me for years or even decades to come.
私の最高のヒーローだったよ。
Now, going into the epilogue, there is a weird air of sadness, like something is not right. How the Todoroki family drama concluded was absolutely perfect, but very sad. Endeavor realized how he had ignored and ruined his entire family, intoxically running after his own selfish ambitions. But now it's simply too late to fix or redeem anything. Nothing in their family has changed since the story began. Nothing has been redeemed. Because this drama was never about redemption, it was only about atonement. Endeavor's crimes were so atrocious that anything he did was always beyond redemption, and he fully realizes this. He knows anything he tries now won't fix his family, but he doesn't use that as a reason to stop trying. That's his growth as a character. And the off feeling of the epilogue doesn't stop here. Deku and Uraraka failed at their goals to save their villains. Yes, they cured their hearts from the emotions bearing on them, but they are dead, and both of them can't ignore this reality like the previous generation. All Might literally says, "You took away Shigaraki's hatred in his last moments, and that is what matters." But the new generation knows that is not enough. They should have been alive right now with them. And again, this is what makes MHA's take on the saving your villain trope so mature and nuanced. They don't settle for curing hearts after the fact. Not being able to save the person's life genuinely hurts both of them, and now they want to make a world where these tragedies are avoided in the first place. And for that, they can't just divide the world in black and white and defeat everyone they deem to be evil. They actively have to dive into the infinite grey of the world and try to do something about it. They're not just gonna sweep this tragedy under the rug and pretend like it never happened. They'll make sure the world remembers this forever, etching this event in the history books, so Shigaraki and the League are a constant constant looming reminder of the hero's failure. And to create a big paradigm shift like that, everyone has to work towards it. One great hero won't cut it out. So everyone from the heroes to the civilians needs to do their part. Only then we will achieve a world where heroes are not required. And we see this change in the final episode. The granny who ignored Tenko saved a kid in a similar situation. Kids now don't just want to be heroes, they want to become doctors, technicians, and more. Heroes don't just fight villains anymore, they patrol around the country, conducting workshops and events to instill a positive mindset in the youth from a young age, eliminating the chances of people becoming villains from the base itself. It was just so heartwarming to see these kids achieve their goals all the way back from season 1. And Deku is a teacher now. Yeah, I'm aware of the backlash that happened after this, but I think this one line sums up his entire character after losing One for All.
Once your dream comes true, it's your turn to offer dreams to others.
Getting a quirk and becoming a hero was always a far-fetched dream for Deku, but All Might made it happen, and now he wants to do the same for young aspiring kids doubting themselves. He wants to be what All Might was for him. He wants to be their hero, reaching out his hand to everyone who needs help. What started with a boy born with nothing ended with him changing the world at its core. And that was the story of how he became the world's greatest hero.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that this is the story of how I became the world's greatest hero.
MHA came out in a strange transitional period, where its competitors were getting darker, more gory, and somewhat edgy. MHA was still representing all the good in the world, which made it an outlier. It felt like a straight-A student in a class filled with backbenchers, which always felt weird to me, cause battle shonens have always been about preaching that positive message. These are the shows you end up watching as a kid and take all their life lessons as you grow up. Obviously, you realize the world is not as simple and clean as portrayed in the world of fiction, but these stories help set you on the right path. It gives you role models, it gives you hope, and shows you the person you should aspire to be. And it is this concept that My Hero Academia inherited at its core and never deviated from it. After 10 years of characters, fights, and drama, it was able to go off standing tall, shouting a loud and clear message for everybody to hear, which is so true to what it always set out to do since the first chapter. The story has always been about hope. The very first lines of the manga are people are not born equal. The story begins as a tale of an inferior guy trying his best and not giving up hope. How much ever a goal seems impossible, if you just give it your all and hope for the best, you can achieve it. MHA taught me anyone can be a hero. A hero is not this supreme being you can only wish to become. A hero is someone who helps people without being asked. A hero sacrifices their wants to make someone happy. These are acts any ordinary person can do. It's your choice. You too can be a hero, because ultimately a hero is just a nice person, and I always want to be a nice person. When I read MHA, I can almost feel the person behind it, going from a newbie trying to make his place in the industry to becoming one of the biggest pillars in the magazine. Horikoshi got MHA serialization after 2 of his weekly series already getting axed, so MHA was his last bet at a mangaka career, and he hoped for the best and gave it his all. He didn't think of failure as an option, he only went into it to have fun. His message on the first chapter serialization epitomizes this. This one might not remain popular, but for now I'll be happy if everyone finds it as fun as I do. You could have never imagined how big this series would become, selling over 100 million copies. But it's not really about the numbers, it's about how many people felt inspired reading your work to go beyond in whatever they wanna achieve. The story, these characters have had such a big impact on me, and this video is just a way to show my gratitude and hope my feelings, my emotions can reach you in some way or form. MHA is so close to my heart that I'm sure as I grow older and move on in life, I'll always keep a piece of it with me and cherish it forever. It may not have been perfect, but you brought something truly wonderful to this world. And yes, I did find this just as fun as you did. Thank you, Kohei Horikoshi. Thank you, My Hero Academia.